Yeah, yeah. We just chillin' and vibing. Good conversations with good people. Oh. Good conversations with good people. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got somebody real special vibing with us. Man, what we got in the building, she ain't just any coach. She's a leadership game changer, a purpose pusher, the voice behind being a room coaching. She helps CEOs and everyday hustlers find clarity, break limits, and step into who they are now. So, if you ever felt stuck or like you got more to give, this is the one you want to step in or tap in. Welcome to the Vibe, Miss Coach Laura.
What? That was a dope ass introduction. Well done.
Hey,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
I
You
get
know,
you
I
to do
try
my
my
website
best.
copy.
Uh,
I'll get you to do my website copy.
hey man, I do a lot of research, man. Make sure I get everything straight.
Amazing. Yeah, no, thank you. I'm so happy to be here with both of you today.
No problem, no problem, no problem. So, quick question. So, I know you're in LA, man, but where you really from?
So I'm it's so funny because when people ask that question of you in Toronto, they don't want to hear that you're from Toronto. They want to hear like where you're from before that because most of us in Toronto, like people of color, they're typically first generation. So that question is always like, where are you really, really from? So because I'm in LA and y'all are American, I'm really from Toronto, Canada. But where I'm really, really from is my parents are from the West Indies. So I have a mixture of Guyanese, Dominican, and British in my blood.
Yeah, you black. Just say that. You got a little black in
No,
you.
but in Canada, I'm not like in the States, but there's nuances in Canada. So
No, I'm glad you here today.
So I gotta ask, you in Cali, but you from Toronto. So Kendrick or Drake?
I knew you was gonna say it.
I'm gonna say Kendrick. And it's, I want to, and it's not even like there was a bandwagon thing. I really liked Drake's music when he first started coming out, and then it kind of started to lose me a little bit when it started to get a little bit R&B-ish. So it's not like, oh wow, like I've always been Drake and now I'm Kendrick. It's always like, no, like I've always been, my music preferences haven't changed with this beef. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, I hear you. I feel you. I'm like the same way too, but I'm biased though. I always been a Kendrick fan, ride or die. But Drake, I like the melody of Drake. You know, he was there when the breakups, the heartbreaks, and all that. You know, I was there.
You were there for that. So
Yeah, man,
I guess
tears.
because I heard Drake when he first came out before you all got exposure to him. So I got the original stuff, and it's like that's where I fell in love with Drake. And then it
But
shifted.
She got a Degrassi. She got a Degrassi.
yeah,
I
see,
got the
I ain't watched that.
grassy. I
I
got
ain't
the
watched
grassy
that.
Drake.
So from corporate director to certified entrepreneur coach, what made you want to start that journey? Say I ain't want to work for nobody. I want to work for myself.
Um, I wish I could tell you that it was like that cut and dry. Like, I'm not going to work for these people. I'm going to work for myself. It was definitely an evolution. One of the things that I really just started doing was like following my curiosity. The thing is, when I was in the corporate space, when you're in corporate, a lot of time, especially with a big corporation, like you get moved where they put you. You get moved where there's openings, or you get tapped on the shoulder to do the next thing. So I kind of got to this place where they kept tapping me to do the next role, the next role, the next role, kept getting promoted. And then when that tapping stopped or slowed down because I had gotten higher up in the organization, it was an opportunity for me to just be like, okay, well, do I even know how to drive the car of my own career anymore? Or have I just been doing what everyone's told me I need to be doing? So that's really when I started to get a little bit more curious about, what is it that I want to do? What are the experiences that I want more of in my career? And one of the things that was such a huge game changer for me as a young especially as a young woman of color coming up in a larger corporation, was having an executive coach and having leadership training. It really helped me to see things about myself that I didn't even know were holding me back, that I didn't even know were limiting me, and allowed me to see myself in spaces I never saw myself in before and be very successful in those spaces. So I started to get curious about, like, what would it be like to give that experience to other people? What would it be like to coach other people? So that's, it wasn't necessarily like, oh, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to go work for myself. It was like, let me just follow this curiosity and see where it takes me. And then I think that, at the same time that I was doing some of that questioning, there was the conversation around relocating from Toronto to LA because this is where my sister lives and she was having babies and I wanted to support her. So it kind of got to a place where, if from my company's perspective, they were like, well, if you're going to go to California, you can't work for us anymore. So I was like, all right, bet. Well, I'll just figure this out on my own then. So yeah, definitely. But I think the major appeal of it was, you know, being frustrated in an environment where I kept feeling like people could see a lot of potential in me, but they just didn't know what to do with me. So getting to a space where it's like, okay, I can't keep getting frustrated with other people for playing me small if I've never shown them how to play me big. And I got to show myself how to play myself big first if I'm going to set that path for other people.
I like that. I like that. What does being in the room means to you, and why is such a powerful metaphor?
Being in the room is about taking ownership of your voice, of your ideas, of your value, especially in rooms when you walk in and you don't think that, like, the rooms aren't built for you, right? You walk in, you look around, and people around the table, they don't look like you. So that natural first instinct, especially when you are considered like one of the only, is to walk into a room, scan that environment, and immediately feel like I don't belong here. So being in the room is about, we can wait for the systems to change. However, systems are the systems that are not designed for us to excel and to thrive and to be successful. They're so deep rooted in, like, so much history, so much, like, it's so complex to break apart that we can only chip away at it decade after decade. So if we're in a space where we can't wait for environments to change for us, we have to take ownership and become the change that we want to see in those rooms. And the idea around being in the room is about, because if you're in the room, then the next person of color who walks into that room has the opportunity to scan that room, see you in there, and be like, oh wow, maybe I do belong here. It's about changing the it's about increasing representation and changing the limitations that so many people have on themselves, based on psychological limitations that people based on place on themselves, based on this idea that they don't see people who look like them, so they make assumptions that those rooms are not for them. And it became really important to me, not just from my own personal experiences, but even like looking at the next generation. I've got two kids. I've got now a 13-year-old daughter, a 15-year-old son, and they're Black. And, when I asked my 9-year-old daughter at the time, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she says, well, I really want to be an interior designer on HGTV, but I can't because only white women get to do that job. Already you can see that at the age of 9, despite the fact that her parents have told her you can be anything you want to be, we're still looking around these various rooms that we want to be in and discounting ourselves from actually going through the door. So that's what being in the room means. It means owning your voice in spaces that aren't made for you, so that others can learn to do the same in those environments as well.
Yeah, I wish I had that mindset when I was 9 years old. To be honest, growing up, I want to be a stripper, but as you can see, that ain't work.
Disclose myself.
Yeah, I'm about to say, as you see, that ain't work. So I'm gonna stay to my regular job right now.
Exactly. Yeah, no, trust me. But again, we are so programmed to do the safer thing. And oftentimes the cues that when we look around, we start to develop narratives around what is safe and what we're least likely to get rejected from. And that's how we determine our path, which is why, even coaching was such a big pivot for me, because I never saw myself as being a leader. I never saw myself as being someone who could be successful as a leader. And and I didn't know it, but it largely had to do with this idea that when you put up an org chart of who leaders are at that level, they don't look like me. So despite my aspirations, despite my abilities and my skill, I've already decided for myself that it's not for me. I don't make sense.
Right.
Just becoming a leadership coach, how has your leadership style evolved over the years?
I have a lot more tools. I have a lot more tools, and I can say that it really comes down to communication. And you know what? I'll pivot that to say I've learned the skill of empathy a lot more now, and the value of empathy. And the reason why that's so important is because it helps me navigate through the world, not always feeling attacked, not always looking to be offended, not always, getting angry or going into survival mode, but that ability to look outside myself, to have different kinds of conversations, to understand that everyone's reaction or story, regardless of whether I agree with it or not, makes sense based on their experiences, their upbringing, their values. It matches, like there's a reason behind it. So it's helped me to get more curious about where other people are at, so I can meet them where they're at, instead of always being frustrated and angry because they're not where I am. Not to say that I'm always great at that. It's definitely continued to be a work in progress, but I will say that the same tools that I use to teach people how to become better executives, better leaders, better entrepreneurs are the same tools that have helped me to become a better parent, a better partner, a better wife, a better friend.
Like that one, respect. You talk about helping people stop conforming to get ahead. What are some common ways people acknowledge you conform, and how can they break free?
So I think when we talk about conforming, we talk a lot about this idea of safety, in a sense of like, conforming means not rocking the boat. Conforming means not challenging the status quo. It means not bringing forward your perspectives or your ideas because of a feeling of it's going to get you kicked out of the room. And you're fortunate enough, like, that they even let you in here. Like, look around. They didn't have to let you in here. And if you get kicked out of the room, what does that mean for, like, especially if you're the only one, like, you carry the weight of feeling like you're carrying the reputation of not just the only Black man in the room, but an entire race of Black men, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure to be in those rooms and to just sort of be as safe as possible, because it matters more that you're just there. So that's where conforming comes into place. And so much of our upbringing has, told us about what it takes to survive in these spaces. And it is like, don't offend people. Don't rock the boat. Don't get kicked out. Don't draw too much attention to yourself. Don't put a target on your back. All of these narratives are really, don't get me wrong, they're very valid from a survival perspective. And they can also dim our ability to actually make changes, the changes that we want to see. And, it's such on the one hand, like you're having all these companies, well, previously you were having all these companies put so much attention on bringing diverse perspectives, diverse people, diverse lived experiences into rooms, but you're not getting the value out of that diversity if people are too afraid to say anything different than what the norm is.
Have you ever had an experience where you felt unwanted or unneeded in a room?
I guess that's the thing is that, there's definitely, I've definitely had my share of microaggressions. But what are the things that I will say though is that I haven't had the experience of anyone ever overtly coming out to me and saying, you can't be here because you don't look like X. And I think that for a long time, because it wasn't overt in those ways, I really blamed myself for my own lack of confidence. I blamed myself for feeling unsafe or having these beliefs, not completely not acknowledging that there are systems around why that is, and the things that there are certain things that I just believed were just the way that things were. Like, I just believed that as long as my resume had an ethnic name on it, that I wouldn't get as many interviews. So the second that I got, engaged to a Morrison, like the day I got engaged, I changed my resume. Like, I wasn't even married yet, but I started marketing myself. But that was just normal. The way that you knew that you didn't have access to certain experiences, you never questioned it. It was just normal. The way that you just didn't see yourself taking on higher levels of power or different roles or do things, push the boundaries of what you're capable of. You didn't question it. You just let it ride. You know what I mean? And I think that unless it's and the reason I say that is because it wasn't always overt, I acted like the other stuff didn't matter, like it didn't count. When really and truly, like, those were the things that were shaping the narrative. I didn't need someone to tell me you don't belong here, right?
Right.
My brain is smart enough to pick up on other details that,
Right.
sneak those narratives in to let you know, like, again, no different than my daughter and my son, no one said to them, you can't do this job because only white people get to do this job. You don't belong here. No one has to say that to them. They just need to turn on the TV and put the pieces together for themselves.
Right. You mentioned the high achiever dilemma. Being grateful but still wanting more. How do you coach people through that tension?
Yeah, it's such an interesting dilemma because the way that I think, especially when you have achieved more than maybe your parents ever thought was possible for you or people before you, you've been given certain levels of opportunities that they worked really hard to be able to give you, and you're living in that space now, and it's still not enough for you. Like, that that's hard. It's hard to feel like, but I've checked all the things that my parents worked for so that I would be happy, that I would have opportunities, that I would be satisfied, that I would be grateful. I'm not feeling that. I feel very selfish and greedy for wanting more than what I have.
Right.
And I think that that was a big thing that I came up against where, back in like 2016, I just remember, like, I had the director job. I was earning like a 6-figure income. I had a husband and the kids and the house and the pool and the 2 cars in the driveway. I had a pension. I had bonuses. Like,
Yeah.
I had all the things. I
We
had a
we get it.
university education.
We get it. You got it all. You got it
Right.
made.
And I was still unhappy. There was this feeling that there was more of me to give, that I could be bringing something bigger to this world, or that I wanted to live my life a different kind of way. And that was a really difficult tension to grapple with, because it's like, you should just be grateful that you made it this far. You should just be grateful that you're even in this space. And I think that that is the dilemma, that you should just be grateful is like stopping there. And that's the mistake that we often make when it comes to gratitude, where we think gratitude is just about being okay with where you're at. The intention of gratitude is to disarm your brain's natural desire to put you into a threat state, because your brain is wired to keep you alive. So it's always looking for problems. It's always looking to, like, it's on guard constantly. And when we're operating in a threat state, when we're on high alert, we're not connecting the dots. We're not thinking bigger. We're not being rational about our decisions. We're fear-led. So the whole practice of gratitude and, waking up in the morning, let's just say, and naming 10 things you're grateful for is just a way of telling your brain, like, hey, you're okay. You're okay, and you can go further. But when we are just grateful for, then we're still operating in a place of fear, of like losing, of threat. And that's
Yeah.
not the intention of gratitude. It's to reinforce safety. It's to reinforce safety and give you access to purpose, to vision, so that you can go and do bigger things. So
A
that is
question.
yeah.
A question. Okay, you
Yes.
said, you had the director's job, you had the two-car garage, husband and everything. Was it time that you had needed? Like now that you're working for yourself, you have more time, right?
No, I don't have more time.
You said no, I don't.
It's not necessarily more time and I think that I'll say this just very quickly. That is when people come to me because they want to leave corporate, they want to start their own business because they're looking for more time or they're looking for freedom. It's like, cool. That's great. But just know you're not going to get that for another 5 to 10 years.
Mhm.
Like when you start a business, when you start working for yourself, you may be working way more hours than you ever were at your corporate job because it's like having a baby. When you have a baby, like in those first stages, like you are up with it constantly, like you are feeding it, you are nurturing it so that eventually it can start to walk on its own a little bit better. It can start to get friends outside of you. It can start to, you know, you don't start a business, you don't start working for yourself because you want more time today. You don't start working for yourself because you want more freedom today. You
Right.
do those things because you want to build a future where that is more possible for yourself
Right.
down the road. Um, so yeah, you see your head's nodding because it's true. Like,
Yeah.
this is like,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I hear you. But
yeah.
I'd rather work for myself and have all the stress on myself on my business because I'm tired of working for other people's dream while I can just work for my dream. You get what I'm saying?
And that's exactly it. So it's not necessarily about time, but it's around purpose. It's around feeling a level of connection towards what you're doing because a lot of people make the mistake of, they think that they're burnt out. So they're like, I need to take some time off. You're actually not resolving the issue of burnout. And burnout is usually tied to like resentment. It's not about how much work you're doing or how long you're spending doing it. It's about how you feel about what it is that you're doing. Because when you work for yourself, chances are, because it's connected to your vision, your purpose, your all of these things, it's easier for you to have more resilience and think differently about the time that you're spending, not resenting it. But even what you just said, like, I'm resentful of the time that I'm spending here because it's going towards someone else's dream. Meanwhile, I know that I'm avoiding something, building something that is actually meaningful and important to me. So it's not about getting back more time. It's about connecting to a purpose that feels important to you and that feels bigger than you.
Well, coach, I think you got yourself a team player right here because I need a coach like that for real, for real. But I always had a mindset that, I wasn't born to work for somebody else's dream. That was always my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing my granddaddy work for a company for 38 years and all he get is award.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Nah, see, I got a different mindset. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, coach. I'm on your team now. You got yourself a team player.
There you go.
How do you help clients overcome imposter syndromes and take up space in rooms where they can feel like outsiders?
Good question. Um, First off, reframing imposter syndrome because I think imposter syndrome is such an overused term. And everyone has it. So it's like, how much of a syndrome is it if everybody has it? If like,
Mm,
um, but it's more around helping them to distinguish between not normal self-doubt that comes with stretching yourself or making yourself vulnerable, and genuinely feeling like you don't deserve to be where you're at, and people are about to find out that you lied your way into this room. That's imposter syndrome. Like, people are about to find out that you lied your way into this room. And most people don't feel that. Most people, because when they look back on their experience, they're like, no, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I went to school for this, I've got my degree in this, I've got experience in this. So most people don't feel a sense of, I lied my way into this room. But they do fear, they do have doubt around how they may be received in the room. They do have doubt if their ideas will be as smart as the other people in the room. They do have fear that if I say this thing, are people around here going to question, how did she get in here? If this is what she's talking about. Like, that is self-doubt, and it is such a normal part. And I tell my clients this, it's like, stop looking at that voice as a signal to shut down, because what that voice is telling, the only reason that voice even has a reason to come forward is because you are exposing yourself to risk, because you are pushing a boundary. It's because you're onto something bigger. If you were doing the things that you knew how to do inside and out day after day, no problem, that voice would never come forward. So the mere fact that you're doubting yourself means that you're onto something bigger, not that you need to retreat. So once clients can start to understand that quote unquote imposter syndrome or self-doubt as more of a green light or a yellow light versus a red light, now we can start to talk to it. And this is what I'll always tell people. And this is something I used to myself. It's like, how do you talk to it? What is the thing that you're afraid of happening in that room? I'm afraid that I'm going to deliver this presentation, or let's just say this. I'm afraid that I'm going to go into the interview for this promotion and they're going to tell me that I'm not ready yet. Okay, so let's stack up the evidence, the facts that will help you to answer that question if it does come up. And usually by the time we do that exercise, people's quote unquote imposter syndrome gets replaced with confidence, because they may or may not get the job, but at least they've convinced themselves that they deserve a shot at it. And that could be the same thing for anything, whether it's a job, whether it's a presentation, whether it's moving into a new meeting. A lot of people have this perception that in the rooms that they want to be in, people in those rooms do not doubt themselves. People in those rooms don't get nervous. People in those rooms are not afraid of saying the wrong thing or making a mistake. And it's like, no, make no mistake about it. Everyone in that room feels those things. They just acknowledge that it's normal and they're gathering tools to be able to overcome and challenge those feelings, those fears, those thoughts when they move forward, and accepting the fact that it's a risk. We're just going to have to see what happens.
No more to-do lists. You had,
Oh, sorry. I think my internet froze.
yeah, no more to-do lists. I saw you had post that. Why you don't make a to-do list no more?
Because they're not effective. The reason why I don't make to-do lists, so to-do lists are a way that many people experience burnout, because again, it's not about what you're doing, but it's about the feelings you have when you're doing it. The danger with to-do lists is that they just become this inventory of things to do. And especially when we're navigating hard things, our tendency is to get those quicker dopamine hits of like crossing things off the list, which means that we're likely to first prioritize tackling low-hanging fruit versus things that are actually going to move the needle. And because we do that, throughout the day, we feel good about ourselves because we cross things off. But at the end of the day, you still don't feel like you've accomplished anything. Because on a list of 20 things, you got through 5 of them, and all you can see is the 15 that you didn't do. And so the reason why I pivoted from to-do lists is because I was really tired of getting through the day and feeling like I didn't push, I didn't make an impact, or questioning myself on whether or not I did enough. So what I have pivoted now to are not to-do lists, but priority lists, where I only allow myself to put a maximum of 3 things on my priority list. And these things have to move the needle. Like they can't be like pay this bill, pick up kids from school, make dinner. It's not those things, right? Those are things that you're just going to do. These are things
Right.
that are like send out that newsletter, create this copy, reach out to this person, send this email, build this script. These have to be needle movers. And when you focus more on your priorities, and you can answer the question for yourself in advance, what do I need to accomplish? What are the 3 things that I need to accomplish tomorrow in order for me to end my day feeling like I did that shit? And that's how you prioritize, and that's how you build your confidence, and that's how you accelerate your timelines in terms of achieving your goals. Because you are willing to prioritize the things that most people with to-do lists will put to the bottom of we'll just let it keep rolling over day after day after day after day.
To-do list. Throw that shit in the trash, y'all.
Gone list.
Oh, what roles does emotional intelligence play in leadership and business success?
Oh my gosh. It's huge. So essentially, you get to a point where your technical knowledge and expertise caps out at value, right? And it's what gets you far in your organization. So let's just say, you know what I mean? Like right now, you're launching a podcast. So your technical knowledge in terms of executing a podcast, coming up with scripts, concepts, ideas, recording, editing, posting, etc. Like your technical knowledge is what's going to get you here. But if you're at a point where you're ready to grow that platform to the next level, now you got to start navigating bigger risks, potentially bringing on more people, building different kinds of relationships, and making higher stakes decisions. All of that is where your technical knowledge and expertise that's not the thing that those aren't the skills that are going to help you make those bigger game-changing decisions, or navigate those game-changing decisions. It is the emotional intelligence skills that are going to help you do that. And the reason why I say why emotional intelligence is so important, but so many entrepreneurs and leaders and businesses overlook it, is because we're so often told that emotions make poor decisions. Emotions make you irrational. You have to separate your emotions from the business. And that's what we hear. But what it gets missed in that is that 83% of the decisions that you make in your professional world are driven by an emotion. So think about this for a second. We're going to have a board meeting about the direction to take a company, and the thing that carries 83% of decision-making stake we're not inviting into the conversation. That's ridiculous. The emotions inform how we show up. Emotions inform what we pay attention to, what we don't pay attention to. It informs what we do next, because how you feel about something is going to have a big role to play on how you navigate that thing. So if you don't have a good level of emotional intelligence where you're able to recognize emotions in yourself and know how to strategically navigate them to get to the outcome that you're looking for and with others, and you're acting like emotions don't matter, know that they exist, but now you're allowing them to make decisions on your behalf without consulting you, because that's what they're doing.
So
It's
being
moving you.
parent,
Yeah, go ahead.
so being parents, time management is very important. What advice would you give somebody who got a million things to do to try to time
Stop getting
manage?
money things. Uh, I think that first of all, no, sorry, there's no time management. And I like this concept because I got this from Tim Grover, and he talked about, trying to manage time is irrational because it doesn't matter what you do. You cannot slow down, speed up, add, subtract time. It happens regardless of you. You can't manage time. What you can manage is your focus. What you can manage are your priorities. So moving away from time management and spending more on focus management it's a different kind of conversation. Time management makes you feel like you got to do everything all at once. Focus management is about looking at your life in seasons, not all the way around, but looking at your life in seasons to be like, what's my focus for the next 3 months? That helps you to understand what it is that you are doing with your time versus trying to do everything at the all at the same time. So I will have as a parent, as an entrepreneur, even when I was working in corporations, you would have things that you would be focused on for a certain sprint of time and other things may lose focus. So there are times where, like I'll set up with my kids like, hey, like I'm for these months, I'm really going heavy in on this thing. I may not be as present as I normally am, but come July, like it's all you. Like I'm going to swing the pendulum over to you. So this idea of time management or focus management means not trying to achieve balance, but creating intentional imbalance and knowing that you can shift it as priorities change and it's not forever is really, really important because I think that when you make something a focus, when you make something a priority, then it is much easier to give it the time that it requires in order for it to flourish and grow.
Yeah, can I manage? Throw that shit in the trash too, y'all.
In the trash too. Anything
Throw
else we're getting
everything.
rid of today?
Word. Oh, tell us about the executive clarity method. What makes it different, and what kind of transformation have you seen in your clients?
hmm I think so the executive clarity method, what I think is really powerful about it is that a lot of times people will come to me because they are hoping that I will tell them what to do. So they'll come with a pen and paper and they'll just be like, okay, like, here's my business problem. Like, what do I do next? Or here's where I want to go. Like, help me map out my career, help me map out my promotion. And it's like, that's all interesting, except what we're not going to do is waste time creating a plan that you won't execute. Because I fundamentally, what the clarity method believes is that everyone has access to what to do. You can Google it, you can ChatGPT that shit now. That's not the interesting part. You can read books on it, you can listen to podcasts. It's not about what do I do next, it's about why am I not doing it? Why am I like, what is it that's stopping me from trusting my own voice? What is it that's getting in the way of me moving forward with the next step? What's getting in the way of me even defining what that step looks like for me? So, executive clarity or coaching, it doesn't, I'm not the expert in this conversation. You're the expert. I'm just going to help you to be more introspective than you've ever been in your entire life so that you can get down to the root of what's really holding you back so that we can pull them out, identify them, and give them tools to overcome them. So it's about helping people to bring up some of those limiting beliefs that they didn't know were making decisions on their behalf, and then using leadership tools, neuroscience, emotional intelligence to help them to navigate the path, but also when they put out that plan, like they're already thinking bigger because they know bigger for themselves. They see bigger for themselves than they were before. So executive clarity means being willing to get ugly before we chart the path to the answers.
I like that.
Yeah.
Lauren, your podcasting journey. What made you want to start a podcast?
I didn't start a podcast. Did I
You
don't have
didn't?
one. No,
I swear I thought oh, you was a guest on some of them.
I've been on podcasts. I have yet to start one.
Yeah, you
Okay.
might as well start one.
Yeah,
Boy,
that's on the vision board.
you got me listening. Like, damn, coach, you speaking? I like that.
Yeah, it's on the vision board. It's we just haven't put the focus there yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you throw all that shit in trash.
Yeah.
You work with executive, creative, and even celebrities. What's one client story that really sticks with you?
There is I had this one client who was very successful
LeBron James, go ahead.
in his career. And he had been given an opportunity to then be brought into a company where he's not only like an individual contributor, but an executive, a leader. And he had these like audacious, what we started to pull out were these like audacious goals that he had for himself on things that he wanted to bring, but he just couldn't see the path to get there. Because it was just like there's just too many variables in this industry that'll dictate success. Like I don't know, I don't even think there's a point of even dreaming up what a vision of success looks like for me because there's too much working against me to even attain it. Not only that, but what we also learned in our earlier conversations was that he actually didn't even see himself as an executive. So because he couldn't see himself as an executive, it changed how he navigated leading other people and kept him in the weeds of doing the work that he had always known to do, but again, couldn't scale up beyond that because he wasn't empowering others. So when we really focused in on that narrative of like not only not the affirmation of I am an executive, but giving him the tools to be able to exercise executive presence, not only was he able to have the most incredible year of his entire life or career, to have everything on his vision board like 10x in what he thought was possible, but even being able to chart his path towards like visions and dreams and being in, like I'll still get texts from him. There was just like, I can't even believe that I'm in this room right now. I can't even believe that I'm in this limo about to go to this event, about to enter into this room. And it really all just started from that, I am an executive and reframing those beliefs and giving them the tools. So I always will watch in awe seeing that story unfold, especially as it plays out on like social media, etc., because I know where it started from and I know where it was going if we didn't if we didn't adjust that narrative there.
That's what's up.
Respect, respect, respect.
Yeah.
When you're not coaching and you're just chilling and vibing, what that consists of?
Chilling and vibing consists of sitting and staring. It consists of watching TV. It consists of cooking in my kitchen. I always say like one of the things that I really when I have the space to cook, I really enjoy cooking because, and you know this from like doing anything entrepreneurial, you can do something today and you may not know for another like 10 years if it paid off, right? Whereas like with cooking, it's like you'll know in about 20 minutes. Like you'll know in about 20 minutes if it hit. So that's what I really enjoy to do. Working out definitely, and finding ways to bring people together is a big part of what chilling and vibing looks like for me.
You said stop moving the goalposts once you get into the room. Can you break that down for us?
Well, I wouldn't say stop moving the goalpost. I would say that because you're going to move the goalpost. So essentially what that is talking about the fact that, again, on the one hand, you set a goal for yourself and you believe that once I achieve this thing, I'm going to be like happy. I'm going to feel successful. But then when you get to that thing, you've already started to look ahead to the next thing that you got to be doing. So you've moved the goalpost on yourself, which is fine because we always want to be continuing to thrive, to grow, to be curious, to learn about new things. But don't move the goalpost on your happiness. Don't move the goalpost on your confidence, because that's what a lot of people do is when they achieve a certain goal and they're on to the next goal, they measure themselves based on what they're not. And all that confidence that they built up in order to get to where they were before, where they are right now, it's all eroded because it doesn't even count anymore, because it's not enough to get me over here now. So that's really what I mean when it's like you can move the goalpost on things that you want to experience, things that you want to learn, but those things cannot dictate your happiness. Those things cannot dictate your confidence. What they can do is build on your existing happiness and your existing confidence. Don't lose the other part. And remember to look back every now and again at all the things that you have accomplished, because that is what gives you confidence in order to feel like enough to start walking towards the next goalpost.
I like that. I like that.
Being a leadership coach, how do you stay motivated?
Churn.
I don't stay motivated a lot. Motivation is fleeting, you know? It's not something that you have access to all the time. It's an emotion. So it's not always there for me when I want it to be. There's a lot of times that I don't stay motivated. What I rely on is commitment and purpose more so than motivation. Because on the days where I don't feel motivated, that's when I need to remind myself of why I'm doing what I'm doing, what it is that I'm building, what makes what I'm doing so important, and making sure that I can connect it to like, hey, this is bigger than you, Lauren. So you're not motivated right now. You don't want to do this, but you're going to show up, not because of how you feel, but because of the purpose that you've committed yourself to, if that answers your question. Yeah.
Time management, motivation, and to-do list. Throw all that shit in the trash, though.
You know what though? I will say though, when you do have motivation, leverage it right then and there to write down or take note of what it is that is making you feel motivated and excited, because you need to come back to that in the times when you don't have it. Like, so a lot of times I like to think of like a coaching call with me. It's every time you finish a coaching call with me, it's going to feel like January 1st. Like every single time. That feeling that you have on January 1st where you're just like fresh slate. I'm motivated. I'm going to make changes. Like there's so many things that I want to do. Whoever I was last year, that's not who I am this year. Every time you get off a call with me, it's the January 1st feeling. And it's not forever. Life will start lifing, old things will start trying to pull us back in, and we're going to be moving fast. So in those moments where you have that Jan 1 energy, I usually tell my clients to put something into action immediately. So it's like, leave this call and do a hard thing now while you have that motivation. Leave this call and write down everything that you just talked about and committed to while you have that motivation. So not using motivation necessarily as something that you rely on, but as a tool to but something to harvest when you do have it, so that
Right,
it can feed you in those dry months or moments where you can't find it.
right. You need to trademark that. Throw all that shit away.
Throw all that shit away.
Trademark that.
That would just be like the tagline.
Right,
Leader
right.
coaching, throw all that shit away.
Yeah, throw all that. Yeah, that's why I'm scared to ask this question right here. 'Cause you might say the same thing. What one piece of advice you give to someone who feels stuck in their career but doesn't know what they want next? Throw all that scary shit away. Oh, okay, okay.
The best way to connect the dots looking forward is to connect the dots looking backwards. So when I have people who come to me with, I don't know what to do next, the question I will usually start with is, take me back to a time where you felt the most in your skin, the most Mr. GVO, the most Larry. Take me back to a time when you felt that. And usually, when they go back to that time, they talk about, and you ask them, like, what was it about that moment? What were you doing? Using action words, like words that end in ing. I was teaching, I was motivating, I was speaking, I was leading. These are all hints to what the next version, what the next chapter of you needs to incorporate, needs to bring together. So now we know like where you're going, and now we can start to explore different opportunities that would give you that experience. You already know what's going to light you up because chances are you've had that experience before. We just need to go back, re-experience it, and figure out, okay, well, now what options would potentially give us more access to that feeling more often?
If somebody was
Check.
looking for a life coach, how could they contact you?
It's always so interesting when people say life coach because it's like I never brand myself that way, but most people, that's what
Dang.
everyone will say. Like they'll be like, because you're a life coach. I'll be like, I never said that. And that's my own thing because anytime someone says life coach, I always like imagine like someone like coaching from their mom's basement or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, if so I do brand myself as a leadership and business coach predominantly for professionals in the arena of whether it's corporate or entrepreneurship, and I coach the whole person, which is what gives it that life portion of it, because that you're not just Larry, a podcast host. Like you're other things too, and chances are patterns, behaviors, things that are going on in your other realms are impacting how you show up in your business in your professional world. So I do ensure that when you come, though you're going to come to me from a business leadership or career lens, professional lens, people are very shocked at how personal it can get sometimes because it just gives us more data to work with. So, in answer to your question, if you are looking for that kind of coach, then you can always hit me up on Instagram. Is usually the best way to get access to what I do, which is the handle is at Coach Lauren Morrison, or you can always visit my website at www.beintheroomcoaching.com.
In the room. Oh man. Now, word on the street. This is what I heard. Word on the street. You working on a book?
I'm working on a book. Yes, I am working on a book.
Well, can you share? You can share a little bit about that
I can absolutely share it. Like so much of the things that I'm talking about in this podcast are things that I'm bringing forward in the book.
in the book?
Yeah, the book is
Oh, so
called
we ain't got to read it.
you
We
you
got it for
you
free.
got the whole thing.
Oh,
You
okay.
basically got the audiobook.
Yeah, you
Um,
got to throw that shit in the trash too.
just throw the book in the trash.
Yeah, shit, I got you, big dog.
The whole manuscript, I'm dumping it. But the book is called Be in the Room, and yeah, I'm just finalizing the deal with a publishing house, and I'm excited to work with this publishing house actually because they were a previous client that I helped them to launch this bigger version of what they were doing before, focusing on voices of color, and in this fiction and nonfiction space. So yes, this is a book that I have been working on, and it's telling my story, the stories of my clients, and essentially, how to navigate owning yourself, owning your voice, um, versus waiting for the world to change for you.
All right.
Because
Well,
as
I
we
do
can see,
appreciate that.
looking at the news, it's not changing for us. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is what it is, big dog. We knew this was gonna happen.
right? So, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? How are we gonna show up?
Throw that shit in the trash.
Throw that shit in the trash.
That's gonna be your new tag.
Waiting for other people to change? Throw that shit in the trash.
Where you heard it from Coach.
Well, Laura, we appreciate you for coming to chill and vibe. But before we go, let everybody know what we doing.
We're chilling and vibing all day, every day.
Appreciate
Peace.
you.
Thank you.